Hello and welcome into the new live stream, and let's just make sure everybody can see and hear me. Let me get into the chat room over here, say hello everybody that's watching, hello, and welcome in, and everybody says they can see me. That's just good. And looks like audio is on as well. Very good, excellent. Now, couple of things I want to cover with you today. As you recall, on the previous live stream, I built 3 computers. One of them had a RAM issue, which by bending it around a little bit seemed to have resolved it. I ran it on a memory test, showing you memtest 86, ran that overnight, no problems. Turned it off, turned it back on, right back to square one again. So I've got an RMA request out to the memory manufacturer. Normally I would send it back to where I purchased it, but they're out of stock and I want all the parts to be the same on these computers. So I went right to the manufacturer. They told me to contact the USA division. I don't know, so I sent the email to the USA division. It's been 4 days, 5 days, and I have not heard anything back. This is not good. And the name of this company is Team, T-E-A-M. I'll keep you updated on that. But when I tell you, when you're shopping for parts, that there's more things to look at than just price, this is the scenario that I'm trying to warn you about. Sometimes it's worth paying a couple of dollars, it's usually not much, a couple of dollars more so that the support is there when you need it. I've never had to wait for a response this long from Corsair or from Gigabyte or from Asus or any other of the manufacturers that I feature here. I don't very often see bad memory. I also discovered that that memory does have a lifetime warranty, but the way they describe lifetime is pretty much until the product's no longer available for sale, whatever that means. So it's not your lifetime and it's not their lifetime. It's the amount of time that they basically have inventory to, because they don't actually repair it. They just send you a new one. So I'll keep you up to date with how that's going. But in the meantime, as you recall, the odd system out, the one that had a smaller 960 Evo drive, as well as the half the amount of memory, right? 16 gigs of RAM. That's this rocket ship right here. The drive did come in a couple days ago. I've been so busy, I haven't had any time to finish this up. And then the question is, how do you get Windows 7 to install on a modern Intel processor? And furthermore, how do you get Windows to recognize that you have an NVMe drive? Now, I've already posted a video on this several months ago, and I think now would be a good time to show that video to you again. I put links in the video notes, and people, I don't know, they don't follow them. So anyway, let me just show you the video once more. And by the way, if you already have Windows 7 installation media, and I want to emphasize this, if you already have Windows 7 installation media and you think you can skip the step where I show you how to download new Windows installation media, and then when you get to the end it doesn't work for you, it's because you didn't download new Windows 7 installation media. So if you want to skip that step to see if it'll work to save you some time, by all means go right ahead, but please don't email me and tell me it didn't work when you didn't follow my instructions to the T. I don't have you downloading Windows 7 because it's fun. I found it to be a necessary requirement because there's so many variations of Windows 7 installation media, and I don't know what you have or where you got it or how old it is. So that we're all on the same page, you get Windows 7 direct from Microsoft, you get the same version I'm using, follow the steps exactly as I show them, and it'll work. And the second question I get a lot is, will this work on, and they just named some manufacturer and their motherboard brand. Like, how am I supposed to know? What you can do is take a flash drive, right? Follow the steps and see if it works. If it doesn't work, it didn't cost you anything. So I recommend that, in fact, let's reverse this. If you end up using the Windows 7 installation media on another type of board, or heck, let's just say if you ever use it, leave a comment down below on the make and model of the motherboard that you used it on, and then people can look at the comments to see if it works for them. But ultimately, it's not a big deal. It takes about 30 minutes to make the USB. It costs you $0.00, and it really doesn't matter what anybody says. You need to actually have personal experience and see it with your own eyes to determine if, in fact, it will work with your motherboard or not. I do not believe this works on AMD, like Ryzen and Threadripper. I haven't tested it. I don't have any boards to test with. So you guys will have to let me know if you have any success. I don't think so. You have to get across two problems. One is the USB 3.0 problem. And even if you go, well, I plugged it into USB 2.0, it doesn't matter. On modern motherboards, the XHCI controller actually is the same controller for USB 3 and 2, and that's why Windows 7 doesn't go very far. And then once you get past that, if you have an NVMe, then Windows 7 says, I don't see a hard drive, because none of this technology existed when the programmers invented Windows 7. So Windows 7 doesn't recognize it. So by following the steps in the following video, you can then make an updated Windows 7 installation media. And let me get to your next question, which is how do you get updates to work? That is also in the video notes. There's a link to a small patch that you can download. It's open source software, and then your Windows updates will work again. Now, for those of you who missed how to make your Windows 7 installation media, let's watch that video right now. It seems there are a lot of people that have gigabyte motherboards with the 100 or 200 series chipsets that are unable to install Windows 7 through USB. And the reason this happens is because the 100 series and 200 series of chipsets from Gigabyte use a different USB controller chip that Windows 7 doesn't recognize because it wasn't invented yet. So you have to manually install the drivers for the USB in order for Windows 7 to see your hard drive. So just to give you an example, if I come around, we've got a standard Windows 7 here getting ready to install through USB. And I want to remind you that if you install with the DVD, it's not a problem. This only occurs when installing Windows 7 on a Gigabyte 100 series or 200 series motherboard through USB. So you've got to meet all three of those conditions. And what happens is when we do our install, we've got the install now, and right here, the next screen that should show up is give us an opportunity to select which drive we want to install Windows on. And instead of that happening, we're going to get a message here that asks us to insert a DVD or a USB driver disk. Right here, required CD DVD device driver is missing. If you have a driver floppy disk, yeah, we all have those. CD, DVD, or USB flash drive, please insert it now. Please note, if the Windows installation media is in the CD DVD drive, you can safely remove it for this step. Now, once again, this will not come up, ironically enough, if you're installing Windows 7 from the DVD on an internal DVD drive. There's no problem. It's only when you're installing Windows 7 through USB. So to fix this, Gigabyte has released a free utility that will modify your Windows 7 installation on your USB. Now, I'm not going to recommend that you actually modify your Windows 7 installation, but instead download a new copy of Windows 7 that matches the product key you have. So if you have Windows 7 Home 64-bit, then download Windows 7 Home 64-bit and burn that, or record that rather, to a flash drive. Once you've done that, then you can proceed with the Gigabyte utility. This is all very, very simple. Let me show you how you do it. So the first thing I want you to do is download a nice clean copy of Windows 7. Now, if you feel confident that you don't mind modifying the copy of Windows 7 you have, you can skip this step. However, if the tool doesn't work, then I'm going to recommend you come back and follow these steps. And you're going to need a flash drive that's at least 4 GB in size, preferably no larger than 16 gigs. And what we're going to do is open up our browser. I'm using Chrome here, but you can use whatever browser you want. And we're going to do a search for the Windows ISO download tool. If I can spell it, here we go. And this first link that comes up, Microsoft Windows and Office ISO download tool. I've already shown how to use this tool in a previous video, isolating Windows 10, but the tool offers you all the ISOs available for Windows operating systems and Office versions that are currently supported. So we're going to go ahead and click on this link, and that's going to take us to the main page where I'm going to scroll down here and click on download right here, Windows ISO downloader. I'm actually going to right click and choose save link as, and this is going to go in my downloads folder. So we're just going to go ahead and hit save, and it just takes a moment to download. So now that we've got it, I'm going to click once on it here, and we can close the browser, and it says here we can download whatever version of Windows or Office we need that's currently supported. So we need Windows 7, and give this a minute while it registers, and it's going to ask what version of Windows 7 we want. So this has to align with whatever your product key is for. So in this example, I have a Windows 7 Pro product key, so I want this Windows 7 Pro SP1, and then click confirm. Then it's going to ask us what language, so I want it in English, and click confirm. And then it's going to ask us if we want the 32-bit or the 64-bit. Definitely want the 64-bit. And we're going to hit save, and once again that's going to go into our downloads folder. So just hit save here. Now this is going to take about, on a fast internet connection, it's showing about 7 minutes, so we're going to just fast forward to the end of this. It's important you leave this window open. If you close this window, your download will stop. So you need to leave this open or minimize it, but do not close it, or you'll have to start over again. With our download now complete, we can close this window. We're going to go back to the browser, and this time we want to get the free utility called Rufus, which I'll just type right up here. And the first link that comes up right here, Rufus, create bootable USB drives the easy way. We'll click on that and scroll down, and I want the portable version of Rufus, which is right here. So I will click once on that, and you'll see it's already saving. And now that we've got it, click once on that, and it's asking for permission to run. We say yes. Do you want Rufus to check for application updates? You could say yes or no. I'm going to say no for right now, and I'm going to go ahead and close the browser window. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug the USB flash drive in. This flash drive is completely blank, and we're going to plug it into any available USB port. And you'll see Rufus right here has already determined the 16 gig flash drive that I've plugged in is drive letter K, and it doesn't give us any other options, which is perfect because it's smart enough to realize that's our USB flash drive. And I always like to make sure that it says MBR partition scheme for BIOS or UEFI, and then come down here to this little icon right down here, click once on it. It's going to open into the downloads folder, and there's only one option, which is the Windows we just downloaded, and we'll click twice on that and then hit start. Now it's going to warn you that everything on that flash drive is going to be erased. Now this is a blank flash drive to begin with, but if it has anything on it, if you're plugging in a flash drive that has important files on it, you better back those files up because this is going to erase your flash drive. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now, once again, we wait a couple of minutes for this to finish. All right, now we've got a nice, pristine, official Windows 7 installation USB drive. So go ahead and click close. And now we can proceed with the Gigabyte fix, which is, once again, we're going to open the browser. And we're just going to type in Gigabyte USB tool. And you'll see, first thing that comes up here is Gigabyte support utility. We're going to click on that. And you'll see there's a lot of different options to scroll through. And the one we're looking for, I can actually read these pretty quick. We're looking for the Gigabyte USB tool, which is quite a ways down here. Windows USB installation tool. This is the one we want. And then you can choose any of these servers here. I'm going to choose the one in America. I'm going to right click, save link as. Once again, it's the default to our downloads folder. Go ahead and hit save. And it's already downloaded and saved that. So I'm going to click once on this. Then I'm going to click on extract and extract all. And it's going to ask where we want to put this. And I'm just going to remove all of that so it goes right into the downloads folder and hit the extract button. This just takes a moment. And while all this is going on, I can close the browser. I don't need the browser open anymore. Now let's go back to our downloads folder by just clicking right here where it says downloads. And there's everything we've downloaded so far. There's the Windows Image Tool, which is the USB tool we just downloaded, the ISO downloader, the Windows 7 ISO image, and the Rufus program are all in here. I no longer need this zip file, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it by right-clicking and choosing delete. You don't have to do that, I'm a neat freak. And right up here on the Windows Image Tool, we'll double-click. And right here on the bottom is the Windows Image Tool executable file, which has the little blue icon here from Gigabyte. We'll double click on that. It asks for permission, and we're going to click yes, of course, and we can close this window. So here, our source path, we're going to say none. We're just going to add USB drivers and nothing more. The destination path is our USB drive, which, as you remember, was K, which is all the way down here on the bottom, and it now has the title that Microsoft has given it since we put the image on it. So I'll click once on that. Now we have the option of adding NVMe drivers if you have an M.2 drive. Obviously, M.2 drives and NVMe did not exist when Windows was released, so Windows needs to be told how to identify it. If you choose that option, you'll see that the second option gets selected as well, which is to add packages to an offline Windows 7 image. Now, I've done some testing with this, and it really doesn't seem to matter which options you choose. It still seems to take about 15 minutes to complete this. There's no quick way around it. So I don't really need the NVMe stuff. You can certainly add it if you want to. It's not going to hurt anything. If you put drivers on you don't need, they simply won't be used. So I'm going to just go ahead and add everything. Obviously, if you just want to add the USB drivers, you can certainly do that. It seems to save only about 1 minute in the creation. So I'm just going to select everything and then hit the start button. Now there's no way to speed this up. You're just going to have to be patient. You can expect this to take about anywhere from 13 to 25 minutes, depending on the speed of your flash drive. I have a pretty fast flash drive plugged into a USB 3 port, and it's still going to take about 15.5 minutes. So I'm going to fast forward through this part, and then we're going to come back and continue from there. All right, well, with that completed, we can close this application, and we can go down here and we can eject our flash drive. It's ready to rock and roll. All right, now let's see what happens when we try to install Windows 7 now. There's our main install screen. Click Next. Hit the Install Now button. And as you recall, this is where it stopped before. And hopefully if this works, we'll get our end user license agreement. And there it is. So we'll click I accept, hit Next, and now Custom. And there's our hard drive that we couldn't see before. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And as you can clearly see, Windows 7 is now installing. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Enjoy. Okay, so basically I've got my USB Windows 7 key made here as I followed the video. If you just take a Windows 7 install and put it on USB, it's not going to work. And then trying to integrate the USB drivers and the NVMe drivers by hand requires some coding. It's more complicated. This is as far as I'm concerned, much easiest way. If you guys, when you use this, let me know what make and model of motherboard you used it on, and whether or not it worked. Now, we can finish this particular build because, as I mentioned, I've got the 960 Evo. Let's go ahead and get that installed. Let me just step right around here and... oh, it's taped closed. I have to get my knife and open that up. Well, that's how you know nothing's rehearsed. This is all real. So let's go ahead and get this cut open. And let's get our, this is the Samsung 960 Evo M.2 drive right here. And let's take that out of the package. And NVMe drives are extraordinarily simple to install. I absolutely love them. I'm just going to take that screw out right there. Whoop. Good thing I didn't have that fan upside down, or that screw would have gone right down inside of that power supply. Okay, I'm just going to line that up on an angle. Push it forward until we can't see the gold tip anymore. And then we're just going to put the screw back in. There we go. Doesn't have to be super tight, just right there is good. And now we can get Windows 7 going. So to do that, I'm going to plug some things in here. I'm going to need power. Make sure my switch is off. And I'm going to need to steal this monitor that I'm using to watch you guys. So let's grab that. That's from over here. I don't get myself in a jumble of tangles. A tangle of cables. All right, and let's go ahead and plug that in back here. And then I need to grab my keyboard and my mouse. I'm going to just steal it from the streaming computer. I'm going to plug this in like so. And then, of course, I've got the flash drive. And the flash drive can be plugged in any USB port. And let's flip the switch on the power supply to the on position and hit the power button. And this thing should boot and should start loading from the Windows USB installation that we just made. So let me step around so I can see what you're seeing. That's a good start. Yes, it is doing exactly what it should do. I like that when that happens. So right up here, we're going to get our Windows 7 installation screen. And I don't even need to read it. I'm just going to hit enter. Enter. Might take a minute for the... Ironically, I'm using a USB keyboard, wireless. And I found sometimes on these wireless keyboards, you see how now it reacted? Either I was too far away or sometimes the driver takes a minute to install. I'm going to hit enter again. It's going to come up with the end user license agreement here in a moment. And of course you can use your mouse. I'm just going through this quickly and I can do it faster with the keyboard. I'm going to accept the license terms by hitting the space bar and pressing enter. I want custom, always want custom on the install. It's going to see the drive that we just plugged in, so I hit enter. And that's it. Sit back and wait for Windows 7 to install. It's really that simple. Now, once Windows 7 has installed, you're going to need to download a whole bunch of updates. That's probably going to take you a full day. Over a gigabyte of Windows 7 updates. It's very discouraging. Microsoft obviously does this on purpose because they want you to buy Windows 10. They don't want to make Windows 7 easy to use. I am removing the monitor now. I'm going to put it back to the streamer because I have other things to show you while this is installing. We don't need to watch grass grow. I don't think we do. But there's other things we can do. Let me just turn this around. There we go. Let me grab my keyboard back here. Now, while that's installing, I want to share with you a couple of viewers' builds. How about that? This one, I don't have it ready, so let me show you a picture. Of this gentleman's machine. Now, he was reluctant to post it because I encouraged him. He was asking for some advice, build advice, over at the free Facebook fan page where you guys can ask for free support and build advice. There are volunteers there that are happy to help you. And I said, why don't you post a picture of your build and tell us about it? And he's like, well, it's a pretty modest build. I said, hey, not everybody wants, needs, or can afford anything other than a modest build, and it'll inspire others. So his name is Charles. Let's bring up Charles's computer here on the screen. There it is. Let's see if I can make that full screen. Transform, fit the screen. Okay. That's Charles's computer. Charles's. All right, whatever. That's Charles' computer. And let me read to you what Charles wrote. Charles said, I'm 65 years old and did my first build a few months back. I couldn't have done it without Carrie's YouTube videos. Encouraged by the fan page admins, I'd like to share a photo and some background of my modest build. He keeps referring to it as a modest build, which I find slightly humorous. All right, hopefully I am back again. Let me just double check. Still fighting with some blue screen errors on this rendering machine. It only seems to happen on the live streams. I thought, well, I made some tweaks to it the other day and was hopeful that I resolved it, but obviously I didn't, so we'll worry about that later. So let's get back to what I was saying here. In just a minute, I still have to, I lost a lot of things here on my screen because when it blue screens, obviously I have to restart the machine. Oh, I was so optimistic that this was going to go well. Okay, so looks like I'm okay. Going back to Charles, who wrote in with a picture of his machine, and I'm going to start over again. Charles is a viewer, and he's sharing a picture of his build here that I've just overlaid on top of the machine that's installing Windows 7 beside me. And let me read to you what Charles wrote. He said, I'm 65 years old and did my first build a few months back. I couldn't have done it without Carrie's YouTube videos. I was encouraged by the Facebook fan page admins, and I'd like to share a photo and some background of my modest build. The components I selected are a Corsair 200R case, an EVGA 500B 80 plus bronze power supply, a Gigabyte GA B250M DS3H motherboard, which is the board I'm using on these builds that I'm installing Windows 7 on right now. He went with an Intel G4560 Kabylake dual-core 1151 with G-Skill Aegis 8 gigs of DDR4 2400 memory. That was 2 sticks of 4. He's got an MSI Radeon R7 250 GPU and a 120 gig PNY SSD, a Seagate Barracuda 1 terabyte hard drive for storage, an Asus CD/DVD reader-writer, Windows 10 Home Premium. And he said he spent a total of around $500, and this was the budget he had for his build. His goal was to end up with a computer with better parts, higher quality, replaceable, upgradable, etc. Then he could purchase at the local big box electronics store. He says he bought the parts from Newegg. The OS was about $90 from Amazon. Since I'm a professional musician / teacher, audio quality is very important to me, so I invested in the A2 Plus speaker set bought online from Crutchfield. So he's got a real nice set of speakers on this thing. I use a composing program a composing program called Finale, version 2.5, almost daily to write music arrangements, print out sheet music, and scores. This has a rather large sound file folder, instrument samples, which the manufacturer recommends be installed on the same drive as the OS. I also have a very large music FLAC library ripped to my hard drive. I listen to these using Fubar 2000. I use the computer every day for checking email, online shopping, Facebook, YouTube. Also use the computer to do my taxes, and when my 9-year-old grandson visits, he has Steam installed and likes to play games such as Spin Tires, Farming Simulator 17, Stranded Deep, and I play Solitaire. Mechanically, I had no trouble at all installing the components into the case, but the challenges I did have were three. I had a little trouble getting the CPU fan mounting posts to cleanly click into place around the CPU, but I did get them fully seated, but not with the ease that Carrie demonstrates. 2, my son helped me read the labels on the board and manual diagram for the front panel umbilicals and properly connect those leads. Yes, as we get older, it's harder to see smaller print. Magnifying glasses, readers, or a young person to read it out loud. Every older person knows. Get the young person over here to read this for me. And finally, I briefly entered panic mode when I booted for the first time, no system power. And after a bit of checking, I found that the power cord was not fully seated into the power supply socket. I guess being new, those were a tighter fit than I expected. And after that, I got the expected BIOS boot image. All in all, I had a great time building my computer. I took my time and I did it over 2 days. A terrific feeling of accomplishment, and I have a fully functioning computer. That is awesome, Charles. Thank you for sharing your build with us. I just think it's very inspirational, and congratulations, and thank you for sharing your story. I want to share your stories too, and if you want to participate, make a video, and you can either put it on something like Google's Google Drive or Dropbox, or post it to YouTube and send me a link, whatever. With your permission, I will include that in a follow-up video. Or if you'd like, take pictures. Take some pictures of your build as you're building it, or take pictures of the parts in the box and then pictures of the completed product. And include a little bit of information about what you built and what parts you selected and why you selected them. And also, was anything harder than you thought it would be or easier than you thought it would be? And would you recommend it to others? Overall, what was your experience? So I would really like to share those stories with other people. And if you have YouTube videos that you want to make, but you don't have the audience, if you have subject matter that is that fits within my channel, then talk to me about publishing your video on my channel so that you can get that attention and the viewers get the information, as long as it's up to the Carrie Holzman standards, which, you know, aren't that high. So anyway, finally, I complain a lot that there's not a lot of minorities in IT. There's a lot of white males. So where are the females and where are the minorities at? We know they're out there, but when I look at the people, the analytics of who's watching these videos, it's like 96% male, first of all. There's nothing gender specific about building a computer, and I'd love to see more from females and other ethnicities. Share your stories from all over the world. One that I found really inspiring is a girl reached out to me from Australia and talked about building her first computer, and that was about 3 years ago. And her name is Kate, and I mentioned her in a podcast or a live broadcast a little while ago. And I asked Kate if she would just make a little video to hopefully inspire others, and she did, and I want to show that to you. Ladies and gentlemen, from Australia. Well, you know what? Let's let her introduce herself. Here's Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate from Sydney, Australia, and I've been watching Carrie's videos since 2012. We need a fairly powerful computer for home, not so much for gaming, but we use a fair bit of editing software. Watching Carrie's videos has interested and inspired me to build my own PCs. I have since built 3 computers and have upgraded them at least twice. This PC has a Core i7 5820K, an Asus X99 motherboard, 32GB of DDR4 memory, and a GTX 980 Ti. The CPU is overclocked to 4.2 GHz and it is cooled by a Cooler Master Neptune 280 all-in-one cooler. I really like using Asus and Cooler Master parts. Last weekend, I replaced the front fans with two Cooler Master 140mm RGB case fans, as well as replacing a 2.5-inch SATA SSD with a Samsung 960 EVO M.2 NVMe drive as my boot drive. So thank you, Carrie, as I'm really proud of this PC.
That's impressive, right? Thank you so much, Kate, for sending the video and sharing your story. And like I said, I would love to hear from you guys. And I'd love to include your pictures of your build and the stories behind your build, or even better still, videos. You can take the videos with your phone. You can then upload those videos, like I say, to any number of services that are free. Try and keep your video under about 7 minutes, preferably around 5 minutes if you can. And you get a little attention, get a little love, and share your enthusiasm and your passion with the world. And once again, if there's content you want to create about how to do something with the PC, how to fix something, how to whatever it is, talk to me. I'd be happy to put your video on the page, or even if it's for a limited amount of time, and encourage people to go to your channel for more content like that. Be happy to do that for you. So just reach out and ask. You can send a personal message to me here on Facebook. Did I say Facebook? Here or on Facebook. Use the Facebook fan page and send a private message there, or use the messaging system here at YouTube. That will work as well. I think that's going to wrap it up. I have to finish this. Windows 7 install is probably done now. I have to download all those updates, which is just going to kill my stream. And the other thing is I've got the wire management to do, and there's nothing to see because you're just going to see my back because it's me and the computer working close up. So there's nothing to see there. Anyway, nothing to see. Move along. These aren't the droids you're looking for. I do hope to hear from many of you about your builds. Even if you have a build you've already done and you want to just take a picture of it, make sure the lighting is good so we can see it. Don't take it at 2 o'clock in the morning in a dark room and it's all out of focus. You know, let's see it. And then tell us about when you built it, why you selected the parts you picked, what it cost you, what you used the machine for, if it was harder or easier than you thought it would be, if you ran into any challenges or had any heart attacks when it didn't turn on, or something happened, something didn't fit right. These are the stories, real stories that I want to share with the rest of us. All right, that's going to wrap up this live stream. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Until then, bye for now.